Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans, promoting God, family, and country, protecting life, liberty, and property. I've got the good sheriff with me, Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org. He's the president of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, and he'd like you to become a member of the posse today. Because if you're a member of the posse, you're helping us support our county constitutional sheriffs. CSPOA.org. We're talking last hour about the Super Bowl. David L. Lowery Jr. was with us. You want to learn more about his incredible work, nationalcenter.org. And he's doing a great job. He's putting together his own TV network, and he's just doing a lot of good work. Well, Mr. Lowery is now calling for a national boycott of the Super Bowl if they have Bad Bunny perform at halftime. He says, hey, man, America will be 250 years old this year. You would think would be celebrating America and bringing people who love the country and just having a wonderful celebratory time. But no, they're using it to divide. We've got to boycott. Even Turning Point USA thinking about their own halftime show. The details aren't in place yet, but they're working on it, and good for them for doing so. But the Republicans have stopped caring about the Jeffrey Epstein files. It seems like the Republicans are turning against President Trump left and right. It's a tragic reality that we're facing. We'll get into more details on that. But I was mentioning last segment that, the problem is the Super Bowl's on the Sabbath. And I personally believe the Sabbath is supposed to be a delight. It's supposed to be a outward evidence of our inward commitment to Christ. And the more we dedicate our time and our efforts to Sabbath day appropriate, rest and service to our fellow men, the better off we are. And when we treat it like a normal day, I think we have serious repercussions for that. Sheriff, you wanted to speak about that a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit. When Dawn and I first got married, I was a grocery clerk at A.J. Bayless Food Markets in Arizona. It used to be the largest food store chain in Arizona. Now it's completely gone. But I was promoted right away to third manager. It's called relief manager. And I thought I might make it a career. There's one time that I actually didn't like working Sundays. And obviously that was the family day. And Dawn and I had a little baby, Josh, at the time, who will be 50 in March, which Dawn and I just can't believe that. But we were talking about that last night. And I told the heads of A.J. Bayless Food Markets that is there any way we could close on Sunday and that we could set an example for the rest of the community. And this is right when, this is back in the mid 70s. And this is when stores were starting to open a lot on Sundays. And everybody, all the big stores wanted to keep up with Circle K and 7-Eleven, who really became the big thing on Sunday. And I went around and got petitions from all the churches, from all the pastors, and even the Catholic Church. Had them sign petitions, and everybody was signing them. Everybody wanted to close on Sunday. Even the Seventh-day Adventists, who worship on Saturday, they think that the Sabbath is a Saturday, and they even supported it. Say, yeah, we'll still support you. And so I had about 30, 40 different churches there in the small community. And that's about all we had. That was about all of them. And everybody agreed. And then there was like one big store that said, if Circle K and 7-Eleven don't do it, then we're not doing it. And that stopped the whole thing. That changed the whole thing. And I said, look, let's just you're not competing with Circle K. Come on. And they wouldn't budge. And I think that one was Safeway. I don't remember. Maybe I shouldn't blame Safeway, but and I shop at Safeway today. It's just down the street from us. But we had it in our hand. We had it within our grasp to really get that changed. And it just took one dissenter to blow it. And now look what we've done. I mean, back then, still, it was the Super Bowl was on Sunday. Teams played on Sunday. That's a nice day off for everybody to go play. But I'll tell you, Sam, I've never liked it. And yes, I watch football every now and again on Sunday. But actually I've cut that back, and I'm going to tell you something right now, Sam. I'm a big time football fan, and I think there's been maybe 2 or 3 recently of Super Bowls where I didn't really care to watch. And one time it was about the halftime. We all said we're not watching the halftime today. The entertainers are too risque. And Jennifer Lopez and Shakira did one, and their costumes were just a little bit too out of it. And Jennifer was dancing with a pole and whatnot. And we talked about this at school. This was about 7 or 8 years ago, and I've turned it off before. I've changed the channel before, but I really wish that we could get back. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, it would take real leadership, though. It would take President Trump, not by law, not by executive order, not by mandate, but by humbly pleading with the American people. It would take large businesses. See, we ran out the little man. The small business dies on the vine, because if I own a small business in town, then the big business comes in. The big business gets special tax breaks and incentives, and then, hey, if I'm in business, we send the money around the community more and more. When these big businesses come in, the money's spent once, it's gone from the community back to, quote, headquarters, wherever that be. Oftentimes different states, oftentimes internationally, etc. And so it would take a nationwide effort. The problem is, I don't think there's even enough of us, Sheriff, anymore.
I think
you look at the riots in these churches and you say, hey, all they've done so far as I can tell, is encourage the next riots to occur.
Yeah, I think so too. And but I also think, instead of saying President Trump, I think the churches need to get together. Just like when I was
that's true.
doing that. They're the ones that need to say this. We are against this, and and they could boycott every Sunday, not just Super Bowl Sunday. They could boycott and say, "Hey, you guys don't need to be playing football on Sunday." And
couldn't agree more.
The Church of Jesus Christ owns BYU. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints owns BYU, LDS Mormon Church. And they do not allow them to play any sports on Sunday, even if it's a tournament.
And good for them.
And the NCAA knows it. And so they don't put BYU in a bracket that plays on Sunday. Well, what if the other churches started saying that? There's Oral Roberts has a basketball team. And there's lots of other religious.
Notre Dame could stand up.
Notre Dame. Yeah, exactly. And if they would take it by this bull by the horn, they could get it changed. And I would be totally in favor of that.
Well, and to me, I don't want to focus on the negative, although we lose blessings when we do these things on the Sabbath as communities, as nations. But I want to focus on the blessings. Second Chronicles was brought up by Pastor David just a little bit ago, and he highlighted that if we would obey God's commandments and repent and change, he will heal our land and protect us. And when you're literally seeing, destruction at churches, murders at churches, riots in churches, hey, it's fixing to blow up like you've never seen before if we don't get a handle on this quickly. And if we just basically go, oh, we're going to look into these guys that went in this church. It was really not good. We're going to look into it.
It was a crime.
Sheriff, how long do they need to look into it to decide who was there and who needs to be arrested?
That would probably take about a couple of hours.
Okay. It's been days, Sheriff, already. It's been a couple of days, right?
Yeah, they could still do it. They've got video. And heck, they were the people that committed this crime were all proud of it.
Yeah.
And they were confronting the pastor. And they got after him even more when he said no comment. But this is a crime. What is the crime of criminal trespass? To enter a building or dwelling with the intent of remaining unlawfully. And these people knew that they were interrupting a church. You have complete free will unless, and where you draw the line with free will is when your free will violates the rights of someone else. And every person in there had the right to be worshiping as they choose. And that's the First Amendment. And these people did not care one iota about that. And I wish somebody would have just called the police right then and had these people picked up. But that's got to stop. The burning of the LDS Church in Michigan and killing all at the same time.
Yeah,
No,
so you have Don Lemon, this CNN clown or
yeah,
former, okay, he was literally there. Okay,
yeah,
he literally came on TV and radio and everything else and talked about it and said, "Oh yeah, this has to happen and this is justified." And if you don't know who's all there, you know he was there. Why don't you start with him?
well, now you know why they call the Democrat Party jackasses.
Well, you also know why the Republicans won't have any willingness to do anything because they're all compromised too. Sad to say, and I don't mean to be so negative, but we, the people in the churches and the sheriffs, are going to have to take America back. There's a three-pronged effort: legitimate law enforcement, churches, and we, the people. All right, we got a little bit of good news, ladies and gentlemen. It's Sam Bushman of the Good Sheriff, Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org with us. Constitutional rights are not optional, Supreme Court tells Hawaii. So we have to wait until June to get their final ruling on this, but they a lot of times signal as they take up cases and people watch and get kind of a handle on it. The Supreme Court is signaling that fear, politics, and administrative convenience are not valid excuses to override a valid constitutional right. In reviewing Hawaii's, quote, sweeping gun restrictions, the court is reinforcing that states may regulate firearms, which I disagree with, but they cannot effectively nullify the Second Amendment, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? They can't rewrite historical standards to justify modern bans. They can't do all this stuff. The message is clear. Constitutional rights do not disappear when they become, quote, politically inconvenient. Sheriff, do you want to respond to this one?
Well, that last statement you just quoted, that's powerful stuff. And we've been saying that our entire lives, you and I, gun owners of America, again, taking such a strong stand. Alan Gottlieb with the Second Amendment Foundation and the NRA some too. We as a people, and especially, again, the Democrat Party, believe there's so many of them that believe that if you don't like a law in the Constitution, that you can just ignore it and pragmatically destroy it. Just make your legislation because this is a democracy and we have mob rule. We can do whatever we want. We can violate the Constitution. We can destroy the Second Amendment as long as we have a simple majority. And they don't understand that's not the form of government in America that we're supposed to have. It was never intended to be a democracy, which teaches all of them that you can do whatever you want as long as you have one more than 50%.
Amen
This
to that.
clown show has got to stop. And I really admired those statements that you just quoted from the Supreme Court.
Now, I will say this, though. The Supreme Court, when they get their ruling in June, it's going to be a little bit nuanced, and I'm going to tell you why. This actual case is about private property rights and gun rights. And so the court's going to have to walk a very fine line to protect private property rights while at the same time saying, hey, you cannot take mass swaths of people's lives and effectively nullify the Second Amendment by this. You can't do that. So they're standing tall on that. But I'm telling you, when it comes up against property rights, there's going to be a little bit of nuance here. So we need to be careful when we watch for the Supreme Court. But so far, it looks like they're signaling that they will probably do it right. What I don't understand is with the decisions that have already been rendered, how can these states think they can regulate the Second Amendment? It was put in the general government as a Bill of Rights to say nobody touch this. Now, states kind of act like, well, that's just the federal government. We can do what we want to. I disagree. We've delegated that to the general government in the Bill of Rights and said, hey, you can't violate Second Amendment rights. You can't infringe. And that means all levels of government, Sheriff.
Well, it does. And we agreed. I'm a big states' rights guy. But we agreed. The states agreed. The 13 original colonies and every state after that agreed to enter the Union on equal footing, the same as the original 13. And the 13 original states agreed that there's rules for the entire country that we will not violate. And that, my friends, is the Bill of Rights. And so we already agreed.
Yeah, we've simply said, hey, with the Bill of Rights, these, 10 Bill of Rights, we all agree that they're general government delegated because across state lines they apply. In every state they apply. They're general God-given inalienable rights that is going to be codified at the national or the general government level for that reason. A lot of states don't really understand that, and they try to encroach on that. California, Hawaii, the state of Washington. I mean, there's a bunch of Chicago or Illinois that are hostile to your right to keep and bear arms. And somehow we've got to double down and say that's not acceptable either, because the only people that are keeping guns are the criminals nowadays.
Yeah, the criminals in government. And sometimes it's really hard to tell the difference. And so when government says I can't have a gun or that they can take my personal property from me, there's a real big problem with the federal government on this issue. And it's this. We all agreed that we the people can keep and bear arms. We all agreed at the very beginning. But then, and the one that has no business getting involved in this at all is the federal government, except to protect our right to keep and bear arms. But what did they do? They established a bureaucracy known as the BATF, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And that agency monitors gun ownership nationwide, as if they have any business doing that whatsoever. If they want to look at gangs and stop.
Well, Trump could abolish it,
Maybe they can do that, but they have no business monitoring the Second Amendment nationwide. That's none of their business.
Well, and that's what they're doing. And Trump said he was going to get rid of gun-free zones first day. I'm wondering when his first day is going to be, Sheriff.
Well, he just had his first year.
Oh, he's at his year mark. That was 365 and a quarter days ago, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm still waiting, Donald Trump, for you to get that done. You promised it. And think about how many people have been killed or harmed in churches and schools and other gun-free zones, even since he, announced that on the campaign trail. Just think how many lives could be saved, Sheriff.
It still really amuses me when you go to a store and it says no guns allowed. And sometimes they'll quote a law of that state. And I have a gun on right then. Of course, I keep it concealed. But you know what? If I want to take a gun to church, I will. And that's contrary to the policies of my church. I don't care. I will do that anyway. What if, Sam? What if that riot that went on 2 days ago in the church in Minnesota, what if that would have happened in our church? And there's 25 people coming in there to take it over. What if they were armed? And what would we do? And so, we've already been. I already had it happen at our church service about a year and a half ago, and I was the only one and got up. These two people basically took over our church meeting. They were not armed, at least I don't think so. I checked one guy out when he was up speaking. He took over the pulpit. He took over our meeting. And he was bad-mouthing our doctrine and our leaders and telling us that these were all lies. And nobody got up except me. And I went up and asked him to leave and to get out. And then two other brothers escorted him out. But what if they would have had guns? And so,
well, or what if there's too many of them? And there was several people that were rioting in this church too. What if there's a lot of them?
I know there was a lot of them. When I looked at the video, I would have said there was at least 25.
And when you do that, if there's 25 people that are kind of prepared for a rumble, and you've got women and children and all this kind of stuff there, and you've got, the church is a very nice place. Who wants to treat the church like a bar and just start, throwing somebody through windows and different. It's just insanity that we're allowing this to occur, but I don't see any serious reaction. But to me in Minnesota, it shouldn't be the general government arresting people anyway. It should be the local sheriff down there, right?
It should. And they need to make some real strong statements about this, that churches call 911. If this happens, call 911. We will respond immediately. But Sam, what should that have pastor when they asked him, what do you say about this? And he said, no comment. What should he have said?
In my humble opinion, here's what he should have said.
Yeah.
My church is non-denominational. My church is designed to help people think about and come unto Christ. Our church is designed to be above partisan politics, to be above all these things that divide. And we want to help people come unto Christ. We want to help people follow the Prince of Peace. And I don't appreciate the disruption. I would like us to be left alone to worship as we think best. And to me, as a pastor, this was an assault on Christians. This really didn't have a whole lot to do with immigration or ICE or anything else. I know they claim, the pastor was the leader of ICE in his area or whatever, but this is about Christianity. It's on Sunday, and Christian principles are what we're discussing at church, not immigration. We're talking about following the Prince of Peace. That's what I would have said, Sheriff.
And he could have added, I really agree with everything you said. He could have added to that, you're more than welcome to be here. Please sit down and be reverent, and you're more than welcome here. If you're going to totally interrupt and destroy our right to worship as we please, as guaranteed by the First Amendment, you're violating our rights, and we will call and ask the police to remove you.
And by the way, we've just done an impromptu announcement after the service today. We're going to watch the Jesus Revolution. If you guys want to watch that with us, you're more than welcome. You know?
Yeah, amen to that, Sam.
Anyway, that's all I'm telling you. Now, Kristi Noem is in trouble. Homeland Security Chief Secretary Kristi Noem initially denied, but then was forced to admit the use of chemical agents by federal officers during a Face the Nation interview. A CBS Face the Nation. So she first said, no, we don't use those. The law says we can't. The courts say we can't. We don't use them. Well, then the secretary was forced to shift her stance following video evidence shown by the host, Margaret Brennan, that depicted agents literally deploying agents at a Minnesota immigration protest. Kristi Noem got caught, changed her story on air. She got caught lying. This is not a good look.
You know, I watched in the middle of all my writing that I'm way behind on, I watched the college football championship last night. It was a well-played game. It was not refereed very well. That was obvious. But I really liked at the very beginning, and Pastor, I hope you saw this too, they had a bunch of young black kids singing the national anthem. I loved it. And the choir director had them, she was there. You could tell they were very polished. That it was very well done. It was patriotic, and it was Americans. And they were singing together the national anthem. I absolutely loved it. I was proud of what they were doing, and it made me proud to be an American. What say you, Pastor?
Sheriff, you are so correct. That's what we need. We need to show our children the strength of our country and our relationship with God. Because we've gotten away from God, the children have no spiritual value at all. But just like you were saying earlier about the satanic group, see, I started watching under the Democratic leadership, just like with the Academy Awards, when they had the homosexuals to come out, they was all red. The guy was dressed up as Satan, and he was flumping around singing that song that had no meaning, but it was part of the occult. Right. Then last year, how they dragged black artists into it, we saw Alicia Keys at the Super Bowl in all red, and she was playing a piano that was the mouth and head of a serpent. And so Hollywood has pervaded this Satan-type atmosphere. P. Diddy, you got all these other actors who are becoming part of the satanic cult. So this is the problem. They've gotten away from God. They're steady trying to push this with the illegal lifestyle, the satanic lifestyle. It's all being shoved down the American people's throat. And this is something to the American people and patriots across this country. We put our lives on the line. A lot of us went to wars to fight for freedom in this country. And it's a damn shame now that we've let a political party like the Democrats, you know, tell us what we can and we can't do, enforce things on us that we have no business being involved with, and yet they call themselves Americans. This is pure un-American. We should have an American choir. We should have some, it doesn't matter, a mixture of Americans from all walks of life should be talking about the goodness of America instead of having somebody on the show. And how are we going to understand what he's saying, those who are not Spanish? And that's the problem. People who come to this country, you don't come to this country and disrespect our Constitution and create, just like the Somalis came here. Instead of them assimilating to become Americans, they said, the hell with America. We're going to steal your money and we're going to build a whole state of Minnesota full of Somalis. And we just going to take and rob and steal and lie and kill and do whatever we want to do. It's all done under the Democratic leadership because they know that the replacement migration didn't work. Black people supported President Trump across this country, and we are going to continue to support him. This is an opportune time because what President Trump is actually doing, when he sent all these illegal homes, all of these opportunities, job opportunities, opportunity to rebuild our communities, opportunities to become entrepreneurs and teach our children entrepreneurship to rebuild the Black community. And I'm saying to the American people and patriots across this country, the Black community has been ground zero. Everybody has come to the Black community and they've been in the Black community, taking the dollars out the Black community, moving Black people out their houses. Because here in Chicago, we have a problem. We have a problem with illegals being in our community. They're giving them houses to squat in that belong to citizens. They're giving them cars. They're giving them more money than ever before. The American citizens are getting on welfare. It's just ridiculous. And it's time that the American people say, enough is enough. These are our taxpayer dollars. This is our country. And if you do not come to this country and become an American citizen and you're here illegally, it's time for you to take your ass home and be where you want to be, but don't be in our country telling us what we can and what we can't do, that we're forced to learn their language that make them feel at home because they're using the Constitution against us. And let me say this to the illegals watching. If you came to America and you did not come the right way, you're here illegally and you have no rights. None. You have no rights. And to the American people and patriots across this country, it's time that we support Tom Homan, law enforcement officers across the country. No matter who you are, you should be supporting ICE because we can see the Democrats have gotten all these illegals in this country. They're shooting at our officers. They're running cars, hitting them with cars and everything. And then you don't see the narrative. Then they want the American people to feel sorry for you. I got a message for the illegals. Black people are not supporting you. Other people who have come to this country legally are not supporting you. The Somalis, take your ass home by March 17th and get out of our country because you've done nothing but been a parasite. So it's time for the American people to stand up for righteousness. We got to put God first back. We got to get our schools back in check. And it's time for Americans to be one America.
Sure, there's no doubt about that. It is God, family, and country, and I believe that illegal activity needs to stop at all levels by all people. I agree with that. Now, people do have God-given rights, and those God-given rights, even if they're here illegally, they do have some rights. So there should be some kind of a due process scenario that we have, but these people need to leave the country. That is the current law of the land. Tom Homan's upholding that law, and we support the upholding of that law. To me, this Super Bowl thing is really kind of one point to make, and I support a boycott. Have you talked to other media people about this, and are you getting broad support or anybody else willing to speak out about this?
People call me, and I told them the truth about what's going on. You know, Dr. King holiday was yesterday, and I want to say this to Black folks. Black Americans, we have to stop this foolishness. Dr. King died in vain because what progress did we make? And what did we celebrate? The Black community family structure is down from 90% to maybe about 4%. Our kids are killing themselves. Drugs is prevalent in the Black community. They're not learning anything. Homosexual is running rampant in our schools. I mean, what is it that's going to happen to us? Is that this was a replacement migration. They brought all the illegals and put them in the Black community. The Black community is suffering. And then they turn around and spit in our face after they come in, they bring drugs, they're stealing our kids. Black people don't own nothing in the Black community. That's why everybody is coming, taking what we have. And so you're talking about how what we are celebrating. Dr. King died in vain. We have nothing to celebrate. We have not progressed. Because if we would, we wouldn't see what we're seeing. We wouldn't have all these people. We would have Black people in business in their own community, Black banks, Black stores, Black schools to teach our children about our history. That's what this is about. We're supposed to be Americans. We helped build this country. And Dr. King fought for equality and righteousness. And we're not seeing that in the Black community. And it's time for Black people to step up and take our rightful place in this country and say enough is enough. You don't come to the Black community and do what you want to do and get rich off of us and then talk about us like a dog and say, oh, Black people, y'all still on the bottom. Guess what? It's time for Black Americans and all of Americans to stand together, help rebuild the Black community, and let us stop Dr. King from rolling in his grave.
David L. Lowery, ladies and gentlemen, at Fernwood Community Outreach Church in Chicago, where civil rights legend, Reverend Dr. Albert, he also goes by Al Sampson, is the lead pastor over there. You want to learn more? nationalcenter.org. And David is calling for a flat-out boycott of the Super Bowl over Bad Bunny being the performer. Even Turning Point USA is planning an alternative halftime show. We all agree this is off the rails. I just want to say this, though. We need to realize something important, David. It's not just the halftime show that's the problem. Donald Trump's taken over and done a lot of good, but at the same time, we've allowed our institutions to be controlled by these anti-American folks at all levels. And that's why you're having such a problem in the collegiate world. That's why you're having such a problem with the Super Bowl or the NBA or, people taking the knee, doing all this weird stuff, because we've allowed our institutions to be absolutely corrupted. Final comment to you, David.
Well, first of all, I want to say to the American people and patriots across the country, this is our country. This country was built on the foundation of God we trust. And that's what we have to get back to. We have to start being true Americans again. We can't continue down this road of letting everybody come in here and set up what they want to set up and do what they want to do and take our taxpayer dollars and get rich and then talk about us like dogs on the other side. So to the American people and patriots across this country, it's time for us to be one America again, the way it used to be. Marriage between a man and a woman, our community strong. Our children are smart, well-educated, not what we see now. So I'm asking the American people and patriots across this country to support this show that Sam has, support the Living and Driving While Black Network, and all the other things that are doing righteous work. Because, first of all, if we don't get back to God, if we don't put God back into our society, because we've fallen away. If we don't get back to a place where God is first, country, the American way of life, and our families, then this country is going to fall. So to Tom Holman, a friend of mine, and then Charlie Kirk, who lost his life over stupidity, let us put America first. Let us get back to a place where I'm proud to be American. I don't want to continue to see artists like Bad Bunny and all the devil worshipers, Alicia Keys, P. Diddy, and all the rest of them Negroes running around here talking about they doing a deal with Satan. If that's what you want to do, that's your business. But I don't want it in our lifestyle. So let us, the American people and patriots across this country, let us stand up for the American way of life and our culture. Let us support Tom Holman. Let us support President Trump. Let us become one nation under God again so that we can make this country great again. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you, Sam, for having me on the show. And I want to talk to you and Chef. You can find me at LetTheTruthBeTold.lightcast.com. That is our television
Let the
platform.
truth be told.lightcast.com. Thank you, sir. We'll talk soon.
And I want you guys on my network. God bless you. I love this country. And let's put God first, and let's make America great again. Blessings to you all, and have a great day.
Amen. Thank you,
I
sir.
want to go to that man's church.
Well, let's make it happen, Sheriff. We can do it. Now, I'm surprised those folks haven't rioted at his church already. And that's the problem is, are these people just anti-ICE or are they really anti-Christian? Because they want you to believe that it's anti-ICE that's driving this. But I think it's an anti-Christian viewpoint. It's just a hate viewpoint that's driving this more than even the ICE discussion, Sheriff.
Yeah, it's just whatever they can hate, they do it. And attacking a church, going into a church to protest ICE, no, that's an attack on Christianity. And not only that, I was just writing an article last night about all of that. It's against the law what they did. Every one of them should be prosecuted.
Yeah, but there won't be any accountability, Sheriff.
I heard last night that they were trying to get them arrested, but they should.
I'm just telling you, the conservatives and the Republicans don't arrest anybody. They just babble at the mouth and spew to the media and do nothing, right?
Well, it seems so far that's exactly what they're doing with Bill Clinton when they're trying
why
to
isn't Bill Clinton in prison? I mean, look, Steve Bannon had to go to jail. I don't support that he had to go to jail, but I'm just saying if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, right?
Roger Stone, neither one of them committed a crime. And this is a stark difference between Republicans and Democrats. The Democrat send 26 armed SWAT members of the FBI to go get Steve Bannon and Roger Stone. And then what did we do? What did the Trump administration do? And what did Pam Bondi do in the Justice Department when they went to arrest John Bolton? They just told his lawyer to bring him in. There's a huge difference right there, folks, between the Republicans and Democrats. You know, there's some uniparty truth, but when it comes down to a lot of things that are important, there's a big difference still. And so
there is, I guess, in political theory, but there's not in reality. Oftentimes, the Democrats will arrest you; they'll throw you in jail. We won't arrest anybody, even though we have the evidence to do so. For example, the Republicans right now, they've stopped caring about the DOJ releasing the Epstein files. They're not even willing to deal with that anymore. They're just like, oh, who cares? We're past it. Whatever. No big deal. Well, the fact is Pam Bondi is violating the law right now, Sheriff.
Which one?
Well, she was supposed to release the Epstein files. She never did.
Oh.
There's thousands of pages not released. There's redactions left and right. We don't have anything we never had before.
Yeah, and it's I was just writing a little bit too about the why did all the evidence from JFK get put in a time capsule, and they're still not releasing all of it
because they don't want you to know the truth. The problem is, if you hear the truth about the corruption in the government, you'll get sick of it and demand change, and they don't want that. They want the deep state promoted and protected.
Yeah, and do you remember Dorothy Kilgallen?
I don't.
Well, she's more my generation than yours. But she used to be a panelist on What's My Line, and she was very charismatic. And I never knew this until recently. But the reason she got famous is because she was a very aggressive reporter, to tell the truth. And she actually, she's even older than I am, but she died a very untimely death because she was investigating the JFK assassination. And she spent a lot of time on that, and she dedicated her life to it. And right when she was getting really close to actually solving who killed President Kennedy, she was murdered. I'm sorry. She was found dead in her home, and she had drunk too much alcohol and taken barbiturates. Do you know who else died that way, Sam? Marilyn Monroe, right before she exposed the truth about JFK and RFK. And she was mad at him, and she was going to tell the world what was really going on and why she's saying happy birthday to the president, his big birthday party to JFK. And look, I liked RFK and JFK, and I actually still do. But they both had affairs with Marilyn Monroe. And she died untimely, and oh, yeah, well, she just committed suicide, and then and they couldn't say whether Dorothy Kilgallen actually committed suicide. But Sam, the bottom line of what you reminded me, how you reminded me of this, when you talked about not trusting government. Dorothy Kilgallen was murdered because she just about had the assassination on President Kennedy solved.
Well, and then Trump
And
said
guess
he was
what?
going to
We're gonna
release it, and then he basically says, "Oh no, I got talked out of it. I'm not doing it." He said on Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. But guess what came up missing when she untimely died? Every bit of her notes and all of her evidence and information about the investigation disappeared the same time she died. And then the press and the government and the police still gave this narrative. Oh, she was either suicide or it was, even though.
Well, Sheriff, there's nothing
no
in the Epstein files, so you should probably move past it. Okay.
Yeah, okay, I'll move past it. Let's go to something else like Minnesota.
Yeah, but hold on. If you skip the Epstein files, if you skip JFK, if you skip 9/11, if you skip Oklahoma City, if you skip Charlottesville, if you skip J6th, if you skip the Epstein files, why not just skip the rest then, sir?
Yep.
Just skip it all. Who cares?
Yeah. We don't care. And I'll tell you right now, I don't care who it exposes. I might care actually. So I take that part back. But let the chips fall where they may. And you know what, Pam Bondi, you need to do your job and release those files.
She won't. She's been instructed not to by the deep state. She's not doing it.
Yeah. Well, the deep state needs to be exposed too. So it's about time that we did that.
I agree, but I believe the deep state is being protected. We're off focused on Greenland. We're off focused on
Minnesota,
Davos. We're literally look. They're now looking into the people who rioted at this church in Minnesota. They've been watching these people commit riots and destroying property and being violent and everything else for how many years now, Sheriff?
Oh,
at least 6, right?
Yeah, at least.
Okay, so, we've had the J6 stuff. The Republicans said it was a scandal and a fraud. What have they done to get to the bottom of it?
Yeah.
And Mike Johnson's literally speaking internationally right now. Trump's gone internationally. They've left the domestic struggles to die on the vine. It's a tragedy. All right, hang tight. Hour 1 in the can. Thanks for being alongside with the ride. The good Sheriff Richard Mack and yours truly. You're watching the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live, syndicated by lovingliberty.net. Spread the word, share the love, and God save the Republic of the United States of America.